Criminal Department of the Supreme Court of Justice of Venezuela agreed to approve the application for extradition to the Kingdom of Spain of Antonio Ledezma, accused of treason and conspiracy, among other crimes. Constitutional Court of Guatemala endorsed the action of the Attorney General's Office and the criminal judge against the Sevilla movement of the elected President Bernardo Arevalo. In Syria, authorities reported that the death toll from the terrorist attack on the military academy has risen to 89. Hello, welcome to Frontera South. I'm Ana Rosabal from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Criminal Department of the Supreme Court of Justice of Venezuela agreed on Thursday to approve the application for extradition to the Kingdom of Spain of Antonio Ledezma, accused of treason and conspiracy, among other crimes. The process, initiated in August by the Special Control Court, was referred to the Supreme Court for evaluation. After considering that the proceeding complies with the general principles, Magistrate Michael Moreno wrote sentence 333. The proceeding requests, in accordance with the agreement in force between Venezuela and Spain, signed in 1989, the deportation of Ledezma accused of crimes that could lead him to the prison for a period exceeding 20 years. The Constitutional Court of Guatemala endorsed on Thursday the actions of the Attorney General's Office and the criminal judge against the Sevilla movement of the elected President Bernardo Arevalo. In what some legal experts have described as a setback, the decision of the court to the consultation made by the highest electoral body establishes that a judge of first instance may suspend a political party as a precautionary measure. The ruling also states that constituting or associating to form a political party may be considered a crime. Thus, it was determined in a statement read to the country that the protocol teams of the High Magistrate. In Ecuador, the authorities of the National Electoral Council reaffirmed the deployment of multiple security organizations for the second round of the presidential elections to be held on October 15th. The Minister of the Interior of the country informed that members of the armed forces will guard more than 4,000 polling stations. In this sense, the commander of the National Police, General Fausto Salinas, pointed out that a group of at least 53,707 law enforcement agents will be in charge of the areas outside of the voting centers. In turn, the president of the governing entity assured that together with the Ministry of the Interior and the National Police, they will seek to hold these elections in a peaceful manner.
At this moment, we want to inform the citizens of the progress that we have made in coordination with the National Police and the Armed Forces regarding to the security guarantees that will be provided to the citizens so that on October 15 they can go with absolute tranquility as it happened. Thanks to the efforts of the National Police and the joint work of the Armed Forces, and thus can live through Democracy Party.
Also, the Minister of the Interior, Juan Zapata, ratified that the entity's interest in the security of voters. General Fausto Salinas, in turn, informed that a contingent of more than 53,000 law enforcement officers will be in charge of the areas outside the voting centers.
We are already planning to be able to provide the security service required by citizens in this important electoral process to be held on October 15. We have assigned 53,707 police officers of the Preventive, Investigative and Intelligence Axis who will perform several functions. In the security area, we will be in charge of the electoral presence. The external part, we will be in charge of the electoral warehouses and also of the electoral headquarters, both national and provincial.
In Mexico, a high-level dialogue took place between President Andrés Manuel López Obrador and the U.S. Secretary of State Antonio Blinken to discuss migration, drug trafficking, and economic cooperation for the benefit of both nations. The two delegations agreed to protect the population, prevent cross-border crimes, and prosecute criminal networks while stressing that they will move forward in the fight against the trafficking and production of synthetic drugs that affect public health, especially fentanyl. In this line, the Mexican Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Alicia Bárcena, stated that they will continue with the actions and efforts to achieve the assisted returns of Mexican migrants, while she encouraged the United States to consider the situation of its citizens living as undocumented persons in the country.
We are going to continue to take very strong actions, including some of the efforts we already have in relation to assisted returns, coordinating the dismantling of human smuggles and traffic networks, which was one of the major issues addressed here. And we have also asked the United States to seriously consider the condition of the million of Mexican migrants in the United States who have not had the opportunity to regularize their status and who continue to live as undocumented persons.
In addition, Mexico's Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Alicia Bárcena, reaffirmed her country's intention to collaborate with the United States in the fight against fentanyl trafficking and consumption, as well as other synthetic drugs.
Mexico wants to reaffirm its commitment to collaborate on the issue of trafficking and consumption of synthetic drugs, especially fentanyl. And of course, we want to approach it from all perspectives, from production, obviously the whole chain, from persecutors, production, trafficking, and above all, consumption from a public health perspective, and to do it in a supportive, humanistic way. And of course, we are acting in this regard with all kinds of measures and obviously with a public health approach. And we are part of the global coalition against synthetic drugs established by Secretary Blinken. And we are doing it all, the actions that Mexico is taking forward, which are many. And in fact, today, the Secretary of the Navy proposed something very important, and it is how we can integrate in this global coalition, a group that can dedicate itself to an international coalition for the tracking and traceability of chemical precursors, not only on fentanyl, but all types of drugs that can be harmful to health.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English. We'll find news in different formats, new dates, and more. All stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In Russia, the plenary session of the 20th meeting of the Valda International Discussion Club opened on Thursday in the city of Sochi with the participation of the country's President Vladimir Putin. During the event, the Russian president stressed that the world has experienced great changes in the last 20 years and set as a goal for Russia the construction of a new world. Putin recalled that Moscow, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, involved itself with all its energy and goodwill in the construction of a new world order that is fairer, since Russia is capable of making a huge contribution, as it has something to offer to the whole world. The president declared that Russia has always learned lessons from history, strengthening national unity and integrity.
The prosperity of the West was largely achieved by robbing the colonies over the centuries. This is a fact. In fact, this level of development was largely achieved by robbing the entire planet. The history of the West is, in essence, a chronicle of endless expansion. Our arguments, exhortations, calls for reason and proposals were simply ignored. I have already said this publicly, including to our allies, our partners, that there was a moment when your humble servant simply suggested that maybe we should join NATO. But no, NATO does not need such a country.
During the forum, the Russian president commented on Russia's ongoing conflict with Ukraine and made it clear that Russia did not start the war. Let's hear it.
We did not start the so-called war in Ukraine. On the contrary, we are trying to end it. It was not us who organized the coup in Kiev in 2014, a coup that was bloody and unconstitutional. Wherever it happens, we immediately hear all the world's media, subordinated, first of all, of course, to the Anglo-Saxon world. It's not allowed, it's impossible, it's undemocratic, but here it is possible. They even named the amount of money that was spent on this coup. Unfortunately, we have to admit that our counterparts in the West have lost their sense of reality and have crossed all possible boundaries. They shouldn't have done.
Putin commented that Russia is not eager to conquer new territories as advertised by Western propaganda because they still have regions within Russia to develop, and stress the strategy of the United States to establish the rule of colonial regime.
Russia is the biggest, largest country in terms of territory in the world. We have no interest in terms of conquering any additional territories. We still have to develop Siberia, Eastern Siberia, the Far East, and so on. This is not a territorial conflict, not even an establishment of a regional geopolitical balance. The question is more broader and more fundamental. We are talking about the principles on which the new world order will be based. Our Western colleagues, especially from the United States, not only arbitrarily set such rules, but also teach who should implement them and how, who should behave and how. This is all done and said, as a rule, in an openly boorish manner. This is the same manifestation of this colonial thinking. We hear all the time, it is said all the time, you must, you are obliged, we are seriously warning you. Who are you?
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, where you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, sub-stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to set up to date on the world's more recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The Syrian authorities reported that the death toll from the terrorist attack on military academy in Syria has risen to 89. The Syrian Ministry of Health added that among the dead are 31 women and 5 children. The attack was perpetrated at the end of the graduation ceremony of the military academy homes in the west of the country. The United Nations Special Envoy for Syria, J. Pedersen, condemned the attack and expressed his sorrow for the loss of life on all sides. Pedersen also called on all sides to exercise maximum restraint and reiterated the need for an immediate de-escalation of violence, a nationwide ceasefire, and a cooperative approach to counter terrorist groups. Azerbaijan has confirmed the arrest of the former president of Nagorno-Karabakh, Arayik Harutyunyan, on charges of waging war of aggression against Baku, the capital of the country. The Prosecutor General and the Azerbaijani Security Service have claimed that the arrest of the former president is due to the fact that he held the government in Nagorno-Karabakh during the 2020 armed conflict between Baku and Erevan for the control of the enclave. According to Azerbaijani security forces, other former authorities and military commanders of the overthrown government were detained. In a statement, the Armenian foreign minister said Yerevan will take possible measures to protect the rights of the illegally detained Nagorno-Karabakh representative, including before international courts. On Friday, local media reported that most of Canada's diplomatic personnel in India had been evacuated to neighboring countries such as Malaysia or Singapore due to the increased tension over the assassination of state leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar. The move comes after the Canadian Foreign Ministry reported that diplomats received threats on various social media platforms after the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused the New Delhi government of being involved in the murder of a Sikh leader. The diplomatic office said that as a result of this accusation, they are evaluating the staff in India and have to decide to temporarily adjust the presence of personnel in that country. And we have come to the end of this brief. You can find these so many other stories on our website at TeleSURenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Ana Rosabat. Thank you for watching.